Hello, and welcome to another short box from Warhammer 40k's Grim History from Beyond. I'm Zeckthar, and this week we'll be discussing an important person in the Horus Heresy. This final week we'll be discussing the leader of the 10th Company of the Iron Hands, Shadrak Meduson. Now, Shadrak Smith, we'll get to his name change here in a minute, was a Terran hailing from Old Albia, inducted into the 10th Legion, his service starting in the later period of the Wars of Unification on Terra. His first action as a legionary were as part of the 10th's deployments in the Afrique and Pan-Pacific regions, serving under Lord Commander Amadeus Duquesne. Duquesne would be Smith's commander on several occasions, most notably at the Battle of Rust, and by the time of the Drop Site Massacre, the 10th Company captain would consider the original Legion Master one of his closest friends. Smith readily embraced the change that came upon the Legion when Horus Manus, their Primarch, was discovered and placed in command. He cast aside his Terran surname, as did many of the original Terran legionaries, and took up the name Meduson to demonstrate his firm allegiance to his new homeworld. Meduson took part in Iron Hands battles of the Great Crusade, achieving such prominence that, for example, he was the officer assigned battlefield command of the Legion forces upon the world of 1544, whilst both Horus Manus and First Captain Gabriel Santar were absent from the line of battle. During this campaign, one of pacification against the inhabitants and hostile life forms of a world under the dominance of the Eldar, Meduson commanded the right flank of the Legion, his men being used both as an anchor point and as an assault force. As commander of the 10th Company, he acted as a mediator between his senior sergeant, Bion Henrokus, and the other officers of the Primarch's Command Council, when Sergeant Henrokus suggested using their attached Imperial Army units as forward scouts, to the disdain of the others. Meduson's temporary command of the Legion forces was successful, and he was eventually able to locate the Eldar enemy's node complex that was the target of the mission, and come up with a battle plan that would ultimately prove victorious. Meduson's pre-battle organization was so well in hand that, when First Captain Santar returned to the line, he refused to take command and instead left Meduson to enact his strategy, offering himself and his Morlocks as additional line troops for the assault. Later on, Meduson was present during the Battle of Esfand V, but never set foot upon the world. Stationed aboard the Iron Side, he was assigned to the Orbital Reserve, once again under the command of Duquesne, ready to drop as part of the Iron Hand's second wave. That moment never came, and instead Shadrak and his followers watched in horror from above as the massacre took place. The situation quickly and clearly became untenable, and the orbiting Iron Hands attempted to recover their ground forces, but were swiftly forced to defend themselves from ship-to-ship assaults and boarding actions launched by the Death Guard and Sons of Horus vessels. The Iron Side was boarded in these moments, and Meduson led the defense. He and his crew were victorious, although Meduson himself was wounded by a stray plasma blast that made the later amputation of his left hand necessary. Returning to the bridge, he was in time to receive the last transmission from Amadeus Duquesne, informing him of the death of Horus Manus. His old commander, referring to Shadrak as one of my stone walkers from the very start, the Emperor's bloody own, urged Meduson to tell the 10th to raise the storm and take every last one of the bastards to hell. Duquesne's vessel then catastrophically exploded. Meduson's own ship was able to light its drives and power free from the orbital battle zone. With the deaths of Horus Manus, Gabriel Santar, and Amadeus Duquesne, amongst others, as well as the scattering effect of multiple battle groups making different escape vectors from the Esfand system, the Iron Hands as a legion were leaderless and demoralized. Shadrak Meduson found himself in one of the larger, if not largest, group of Iron Hands, which had with it nearly all the clan fathers of the Legion. In the absence of a senior officer, the clan fathers announced that they would temporarily take collective command. Now, Meduson was not the lone voice, but was the loudest, that decreed this move as pointless, being in favor of a singular leadership with a clear vision. Nevertheless, he acquiesced to the decision, following the lead of the senior member of his own clan present, Iron Father Jabez Og. The clan fathers determined to reorganize the Legion along strict traditional clan lines, although the ragtag nature of their forces resulted in one particular change. Clan Avarni was barely represented in the force, the majority of them being wiped out alongside the Primarch on the surface of Esfand V, and could not form their own unit.
Additionally, small units of Raven Guard and Salamander survivors had also been picked up during the escape, who needed to be fitted into the order of battle somewhere. The Fathers decided, perhaps in response to Shadrak's admonition, that the Legion should work closely with their cousin legionaries into developing new ways of war instead of turning to old traditions, to fold the outsiders into the disgraced Irvani into clan Sorgol. To make up for making Sorgol a mongrel clan, the Fathers also made Jabez Og the war leader of the entire battle group. Og, in his turn, made Shadrak Meduson his hand-elect, his second in command. Now, not long after, the fleet received a message from another group of Iron Hands, and altered their course to meet them. Unfortunately, the meeting proved to be a trap laid by the Sons of Horus. In the naval battle that followed, the battle group flagship Crown of Flame was destroyed, taking the clan fathers with it. A Vox signal was broadcast from the enemy's own flagship by their commander, Tybalt Mar, offering surrender terms. Og's response was to make his own vessel, the Iron Hot, into close range with the enemy flagship and to order Meduson to board it and return with Mars's head. Meduson led his mixed legion and clan force for the first time in a teleport assault onto the Sons of Horus flagship, but despite fighting valiantly and causing much damage, his hybrid forces were forced to retreat before encountering Mar, as the Iron Heart itself took serious damage and Jabez Og was injured beyond capability to command. Fleeing the area with a reduced force, Meduson found himself given the role of war leader by the incapacitated Og. Without the clan fathers, this resulted in Meduson suddenly gaining command over the whole force. Conferring with his comrades and the liaisons from the other Legion forces, Shadrak Meduson determined the Iron Hands would need to become flexible in order to not break under the pressures they found themselves in. As his first act as war leader, Meduson announced his hand-elect. Breaking with tradition, he assigned the role to 4 individuals, not 1. A representative each from Sorgol, Averni, the Salamanders, and the Raven Guard. His second pronouncement was to send out a wide-band message, promising to Tybalt Mar that one day, Shadrak Meduson would have his head. When questioned as to why he was attaching his name to the threat, Meduson outlined that currently, the traitors did not fear the Estvon survivors. By using one name again and again when striking and harassing them, he believed he could create an effect like that of a boogeyman, a morale blow that would aid their efforts and hamper the effectiveness of the enemy. Meduson then proposed a strategy that was a combination, an alloying of the Legion tactics of all those present. They would fight a guerrilla war, hit and run, but also seek to gather strength to their banner and save what other survivors of the massacre and the rebellion that they could. Meduson's next confirmed appearance occurred not too long after the schism of the White Scars Legion. In the aftermath of that event, the surviving White Scar Marines that had moved against their Primarch were sent out as penitent warriors, grouping as kill teams to atone for their previous choice in righteous battle. One of these penitent kill teams was berthed aboard the captured Sons of Horus ship, Great Talon, captained by the aforementioned Bion Henricos, once Meduson's senior sergeant, and who had himself escaped Esfand V, but separated from his company captain. Henricos and the White Scars kill team, led by Haboyo Khan, ambushed another Sons of Horus vessel and attempted to capture it by boarding action. They met stiffer than expected resistance, however, and were only saved from death by the sudden appearance of Meduson and his own contingent of boarding troops. Meduson had been tracking Henricos' ship for some time, confused as to why a vessel that obviously appeared to belong to the Sons of Horus was operating according to an Iron Hand search pattern. The two colleagues appraised each other of each other's events, and Meduson added Henricos and Habuo Khan's unit to his ever-growing own. Indeed, by the time of the Battle of Dwell, Shadrak Meduson was reckoned to have assembled quite a significant force. Believed attached to his mongrel clan of original S-15 survivors were additional marine elements from the Salamanders and White Scars, numerous naval vessels, and apparently enough soldiery to total 58 full battalions of the Imperial Army. The Battle of Dwell occurred mainly because Horus Lupercal wanted the planet for his own purposes, but also in some small part in order to deny its 8 million armed troopers from allying with Meduson's forces in the sector. Several Sons of Horus officers, notably Little Horus Axmon, who we talked about last week, suspected that Meduson may have already embedded men onto the planet, And this would prove to be true. At the culmination of the battle, a legionary kill team who had been waiting to assassinate Lupercal found themselves out of position, and so settled for attempting to eliminate Horus Axeman and his command element instead. The resulting combat saw Bion Henricos perish, and little Horus severely wounded. This was not the only assassination attempt masterminded by Shadrak Meduson on Dwell, however. In the aftermath of the battle, when the Primarchs Horus, Mortarion, and Fulgrim met to discuss their next moves, their conclave was attacked by a trio of Iron Hand's Fire Raptor gunships, hidden from detection and deployed likewise. This attempt was similarly unsuccessful, with the loss of all three of Meduson's birds. But all the Primarchs and several of the other Marines present were wounded to some degree. Some seriously, in fact. It was perhaps the closest currently known of attempt to eliminate Horus, and all the more impressive for nearly removing multiple other essential personnel from the board as well. Following this event, and the baiting and destruction of Iron Hand's ambush vessel further out in the Dwell system, Horus decided to detach a portion of his Legion resources and assign them to hunting down and destroying Meduson. This force was placed under the command of Captain Tybalt Mar, who felt he had a personal score to settle with the Iron Hand's war leader. Now, no sighting of Meduson can be confirmed for a period immediately after the Battle of Dwell, and the launching of Mar's hunter-killer force. The Shadow Network used by the Shattered Legions became filled with conflicting tales, either that he fought on still, or that he had died either on Dwell or someplace else, caught by the Sons of Horus. Shadrak Meduson's identity was at some point taken by none other than Alfarius, Primarch of the Alpha Legion himself. Assuming the mantle of Meduson and garbing a unit of his own Marines in Iron Hand battle gear, Alfarius' disguise was completely undetectable by the members of the Iron Hand Legion he met. Traveling in a vessel that appeared to be the Iron Heart, Meduson's own flagship, Alfarius fell in with a separate unit of mixed Estvon survivor Marines under the command of Cadmus Tyro, and convinced them, in the guise of Meduson, to aid him in an action against other members of the Alpha Legion. His deception was revealed, however, towards the end of the affair, and the survivor of Tyro's force escaped with the knowledge that Alfarius had been impersonating Meduson. The real Shadrak Meduson still endured elsewhere in the galaxy, and was waging his guerrilla war against Horus with increasing brutality. However, Meduson's authority was usurped by the increasing madness and desperation in the Iron Hands. A coup by the cult of the Gorgon attempted to take control of Meduson's sizable Shattered Legion forces, proclaiming they were led by the reborn Ferrus Manus himself. However, Vulcan, accompanying the fleet on his journey to Terra, quickly saw through the charade and revealed that the reborn Ferrus Manus to be only a mechanical puppet, with one of the Primarch's metallic arms attached. Vulcan shattered the puppet in anger, and with that the cult of the Gorgon crumbled. Despite their treachery, Meduson pardoned all of the Iron Fathers involved in the cult of the Gorgon, including his second-in-command, Jabez Og. Now in control of his forces once more, but refused help from Vulcan, Meduson continued his war against Horus. He became engaged in an increasingly bitter struggle with Captain Tybalt Mar, who goaded him into open confrontation. Despite the advice of his Iron Fathers to avoid direct combat, Meduson openly fought Mars' larger fleet at the Battle of Aragnachain. As the losses mounted, Meduson led a boarding action against Mars' flagship, Lupercal Perseverant, but was ambushed and captured as Jabez Og abandoned him to his fate and withdrew with the remainder of the Loyalist fleet. Taken before Tybalt Mar, Meduson declared that the Iron Tenth would never be broken, before he was decapitated by Tybalt Mar himself. Well, on that discouraging note, that's all the time we got for today. Join us next week as we... Honestly, I got nothing. Tell you what, I'm going to take a week to figure out what my next short box will be. Feel free to make suggestions in the comments. But yes, I will be taking this next week off for short boxes. If you enjoyed this box though, please like, follow, subscribe, and comment. Also feel free to check out our new shop, where you can get some merchandise from the channel. Have a great day, and as always,
until next time, this is Zeckthar, signing off.